What if I told you that one of the most electrifying performances in modern figure skating wasn't just about jumps, spins, or scores, but about something far deeper: freedom? Because when Alysa Liu stepped onto the ice for her Skateside performance, it didn't feel like a competition anymore. It felt like a statement, a turning point, a moment that quietly asked the world, what does it really mean to skate without fear? And by the end of this story, you might see figure skating and Alysa Liu very differently. Alysa Liu's journey was never ordinary. From the very beginning, she wasn't just another young skater chasing medals. She was a prodigy, the youngest U.S. national champion in history. A teenager landing triple axels while most skaters her age were still mastering basics. The spotlight didn't just find her, it followed her everywhere. But here's the thing about prodigies. The world celebrates them early, but it also expects them to stay perfect. And that pressure, it builds quietly. Behind the medals and headlines, there was a young athlete growing up under constant expectation. Every performance wasn't just a routine, it was a test. Every mistake felt amplified, every success expected. So what happens when someone like Alysa Liu decides to change the script? Her Skateside performance didn't come with fireworks or dramatic controversy. There was no scandal, no public meltdown, and yet it felt different, subtle, personal, almost rebellious in a quiet way. Because this time, Alysa wasn't skating to prove something to judges. She was skating for herself. If you watch closely, you notice it immediately. The movements feel lighter, the expressions more genuine. There's a kind of calm confidence that wasn't always there before. Not forced, not rehearsed, just real. And that raises a question. Was this the same skater the world had been watching for years, or someone entirely new? What many viewers didn't realize is that this performance came during a period of deep personal reflection for Alysa. Behind the scenes, she had been rethinking her relationship with the sport, the grind, the expectations, the identity of being the prodigy. And that internal shift, it changes everything. Because when an athlete stops skating out of obligation and starts skating out of choice, the ice feels different. Every edge, every glide, every jump carries a new meaning. There's a moment in the performance, blink and you might miss it, where Alysa pauses just long enough to breathe, not physically, but emotionally. It's as if for the first time she isn't racing against pressure, she's moving with it. And that moment, that's where the magic lives. Fans noticed. Social media lit up, not just with praise, but with curiosity. People weren't just asking, did she land the jump? They were asking something deeper. Why does this feel so different? Is she happier? What changed? And maybe the most powerful question of all, is this what freedom looks like in figure skating? Because for years, the sport has been defined by precision, discipline, and perfection. But Alysa Liu's Skateside performance hinted at something else, a softer, more human side of competition. A reminder that behind every technical element is a person who feels pressure, doubt, growth, and sometimes a desire to step away from it all. In fact, Alysa's journey has been marked by bold decisions that many didn't see coming. At a time when most athletes would double down on competition, she chose something different. She chose space, perspective, life beyond the ice. And suddenly, her performances weren't just about winning anymore. They were about meaning. Think about that for a second. How often do we see athletes at the peak of their careers step back and redefine success? It's rare and it's risky, but it's also powerful. Because it challenges the entire system. It forces fans, judges, and even fellow athletes to rethink what matters most. Is it the score?
Or is it the story? Alysa Liu's Skateside performance didn't break records. It didn't need to. What it did, instead, was something far more lasting. It made people feel. And in a sport where milliseconds and millimeters often decide everything, that kind of emotional impact is almost revolutionary. There's also a psychological layer here that can't be ignored. When athletes are constantly evaluated, their identity can become tied to performance. Win and you're celebrated, lose and you're questioned. But what happens when you detach your identity from the result? You become free. And that's exactly what Alysa seemed to embody on the ice. Not perfection, but authenticity. Not pressure, but presence. And maybe that's why this performance continues to resonate, because it reflects something universal. We've all felt the weight of expectations, the pressure to meet standards, to prove ourselves, to succeed by someone else's definition. And deep down, we've all wondered, what would it feel like to let that go? Alysa Liu didn't just wonder, she showed us. Now the big question is, what comes next? Is this a new chapter in her career? A redefined approach to competition? Or something even bigger? A shift that could influence the future of figure skating itself? Because when one athlete dares to change the narrative, others start to notice, and sometimes they follow. The legacy of a performance isn't always measured in medals. Sometimes it's measured in impact, in conversations, in the quiet realization that maybe, just maybe, there's another way to do things. Alysa Liu's Skateside performance may not have been the loudest moment in figure skating history, but it might be one of the most important, because it reminds us that behind every routine is a human story. And sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones that break away from expectation and skate towards something real. So now I want to hear from you. Did you feel that difference in her performance? Do you think athletes should prioritize personal freedom over competitive pressure? Or is that balance impossible at the highest level? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's start that conversation. And if you want more deep, cinematic stories like this, stories that go beyond the headlines and into the heart of the moment, make sure you subscribe to Celeb World Insight. Like this video, share it with someone who loves sports and storytelling, and stay tuned, because the next story might just change the way you see your favorite athlete forever.